Welcome to the official Supercross Live post-show fueled by Monster Energy. Kevin Barnett, Jim Holley wrapping up a fantastic night of racing here in Seattle. And Jim, just when you thought there was no life left in this series, people were getting a little disinterested. A great night of racing, and we'll start with that Western Regional Supercross Lights class. Whole shot, Ryan Sipes back on the bike after injury and an incredible wire-to-wire win.
It was a great win. What was that movie that Tom Hanks was in, Sleepless in Seattle? It wasn't Sleepless here. I mean, everybody, the fans, it was just a great day. I mean, the sun was out, the party in the pits was great, but, you know, like you mentioned, Sipes, he did what he had to do. He got the whole shot, and he's been working hard. I talked to him and his mechanic, and they put in the time and the effort during the 8 weeks off, and he came back and he knew what he had to do. And, you know, unlike his heat race, because he didn't get a good start in his heat race, but he came out for that main event, collected $1,000 from Nuclear Cowboys, and basically that, and he had a little help. He didn't have the pressure because behind him, what a fight.
Yeah, a battle. You mentioned it. Tomac and Wilson, of course, Wilson with that slight lead in the points. They come in, and I remember them on lap one going into a turn, both in a full stoppie as they made a left-hand turn. I thought that was going to be the photo of that race, and then they got into knocking each other down. Well,
it's just one of those things where, Wilson went and ran him off the track, and when he had the opportunity to present himself after the finish line, you know, Tomac pays him back and says, thanks very much. I'm surprised that Wilson, though, didn't see out of the corner of his eye him coming up and maybe lift it up and go, okay, well, he got me, he went underneath, and let's live on to fight some more of this race. But he went down, unfortunately, back in 7th, and, you know, Tomac gained a lot of points, and we're heading off to Salt Lake City next week. What can we say? But, you know, the other guy that I thought rode really well, and he won his heat race tonight, his first of the career for him, Marvin Muskin, to finish up that second. I mean, he came back up, and he was riding hard. If he would have got a start, I think he might have maybe won this thing tonight.
Yeah, top qualifier, Muskin. And I want to ask you about that rough racing between Tomac and Wilson. You mentioned that Tomac paid him back. Wilson, I thought he earned that shot from Tomac. Is that good racing, or was that just too hard?
No, I like it.
I thought so.
I think the fans loved it. You know, I mean, it's just one of those things that, you know, it happens. And, you know, these guys are fighting for a championship. There's a lot of money on the line, and this thing's going all the way to Las Vegas, and it's going to continue after in that East-West shootout. I can guarantee you that.
All right, so Western Regional Supercross Lights class, certainly great racing still to come. Now moving on to the Supercross class, another guy up front unexpectedly back in his second race after injury. Andrew Short had a 5th place finish last week. This time, wire-to-wire, whole shot, Nuclear Cowboys, $1,500 for him, and first ever SX victory.
Yeah, I mean, he's been working a long time, and, you know, Andrew's had up and down, you know, his career. You know, he was on the Honda, and he rode the KTM. He was basically developing, helping those guys out, and then he gets the Supercross.com ride, and they have some problems with some sponsorships, and, you know, he's basically working out of the back of the factory Honda truck, you know, just kind of, you know, putting things together. But what a great win for him. But, you know, it took to get that whole shot, like you had mentioned, Kevin, because in that heat race, he started 4th, he finished 4th. Tonight's track here in Seattle, very hard to pass on. The only way you're going to pass is like the Lights guys were doing. They were getting physical. But if you look at it, him and Kenny Roxon went back and forth early in the race. I didn't see none of those guys go down.
No, once those ruts developed, you're right, it was sort of one line. You mentioned Ken Roxon on that 350. Of course, debate up and down the internet, everywhere else about is there enough horsepower on that 350. Kenny Roxon whole shot at his heat and comes out nearly whole shot at the main, and then gave Andrew Short quite a run for a long time.
Yeah, he did, and that's, you know, it's a milestone in itself, because that's the first podium for KTM on that 350. You know, Dungy's won a couple this year. Now KTM gets a second, their first podium on that 350, and I asked Kenny Roxon, hey, you going to go to Salt Lake City next week? Because he didn't know if he was going to ride it or not. He said, I better go now.
Yeah. Well, in 3rd place, Jake Weimer brings home the Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki to another podium finish. Jake Weimer's had an up and down year, but he spent a lot of time on the podium lately.
He did, and behind him in 4th was Brayton, and I thought maybe Brayton and him were going to get together and come up and catch Kenny, but that didn't happen. But another good ride for Weimer, but his teammate, unfortunately, Villopoto, did not finish this one, went down in this left-hander on that first lap. He got up kind of like at a Charlie horse or something. Hopefully he's okay, but that was a scary moment for the champion there, and you know, I'm sure all the Kawasaki guys were holding their breath, and hopefully he's okay, and hopefully we'll see him in Salt Lake City and Las Vegas also, because he's a great champion. And once again, you know, it's very hard to win your hometown race, and but Villopoto, he had the fastest heat race, he whole shot, he was gone, but it just wasn't his tonight in that main event. It was all about Andrew Short.
All right, lots of racing to come. As you mentioned, Salt Lake coming up. Also the finale in Vegas, that East-West shootout, plus all the points races that will happen for both the East and the West regional Supercross lights classes. Get in the conversation with us during the week. Facebook.com/SupercrossLive, Twitter.com/SupercrossLive. Lots of ways to communicate with us, Jim, all over the internet. And visit supercrossonline.com. Join the Cross Club. The 2013 season coming up fast. An announcement soon as to where the events are going to be for the 2013 season. Tell us where you want the events to be during the 2013 season. Post on our Facebook page. And finally, Monster Energy Cup. All these guys, the lights, the great race that was going on there, the Supercross, they're all going to be in one class. Bring whatever you want and run it October 20th in Sam Boyd Stadium.
And $1 million on the line again.
$1 million. Boy, you couldn't find a better motivator than $1 million, a giant box of cash that they put out during the race. Not to mention the 5-foot trophy, Jim.
Yeah.
That thing's almost as big as me. All right, we will see you again next week, Salt Lake City. Big thanks to Monster Energy for this program. I'm Kevin, he's Jim. We're done here in Seattle.